send him up there. I mean, my boss comes in at 9:00 and says to me, what happened overnight? And I said, are you sitting down, Bob? He said, yeah. And I said, well, first of all, I heard the story about this crazy guy raping all these young girls and doing these horrible things to them up in Harrisburg. So I sent 2 crews in overtime. And he goes, 2? I said, well, that's not the bad news. The bad news is I rented an airplane. I sent him off on an airplane. This guy almost flew out of his chair. And then he thought about it, and he looks at me and he says, I want you to remember this. Money should never be a reason for missing the story. And I never forgot it. And I was fine. Now, today, money is the reason you don't do things. If it costs money, you're not going to do them. If an investigative report is not going to happen because it costs money, you are not going to send a crew to someplace other than the local area because it costs money. Money is the motivating factor for not doing things.
Okay, well, that's the first half hour and then a little bit of after show. I did not say the word Pennhurst.
Yeah.
That was my goal. And I do want to talk about Pennhurst, but I wanted to hear a half hour you without Pennhurst.
All right.
And I was trying to think of a way because I tried to think of a way. I told you how I got involved with Pennhurst and went up there and then I backtracked to where you were. And I got the, and I watched the documentaries, and it just I can't even watch them anymore after the first time because they bothered me so much. But before that, what I figured I would ask you is, what's your second favorite story? Because the second best story you ever did. Because I think I know the first.
You are right. I always tell people, I said, it's like being a rookie baseball player, and your first year you're in the World Series, and you're at the bottom of the ninth, and you're losing by 3 runs. And you hit a grand slam home run to win the World Series. And
you had been working 20 days at that point, or something like that? How long had you been there?
Oh, no. I was 26. I was only on the air for like a couple months. I was working weekends. I was like low man on the totem pole. Yeah, I knew nothing when I did that. I always wished you say, I wish I knew then what I know now. But it ended up okay, but it was a very difficult ordeal.
Did that mold the reporter you became?
I think so. I never forgot it. I never, like I said, you hit the grand slam at the bottom of the ninth in the World Series, and you just have a long career. You never get that opportunity again.
Well, it seems like a lot of things that happened with you were these random things that you made happen. You parked one place. You decided to go across the street. You walked in the door. You misrepresented yourself to get upstairs. You met your wife.
Correct.
You did all these different things, and then I they talk about a champion for people with mental disabilities, and I've always had a problem because I feel that we have all these different women, minorities, gender issues, and everybody's clamoring for the top and attention. I feel like we've always stepped on the back of the mentally disabled.
Oh yeah.
And lately...
They had no lobby.
They had nobody because it's not attractive at all.
Correct.
And then recently I felt that not as bad as the mentally disabled because they do get a little bit of attention. But ageism gets no attention. Ageism and the mentally disabled are at the bottom of the spiral. Everybody's standing on their back saying, why can't I be top of the pyramid? And they've been doing it for years. And they've been jockeying for the number 1, number 2 position. But they talked about a champion, for this, and you said in an interview that, a champion. Have you ever thought you might have been that champion?
I think I always thought of myself as being in the right place at the right time. It just hit my sensibilities to no end. I mean, I never saw anything like that. I remember when I first heard about it, I didn't believe them. I thought these people are lying to me.
But one of the things I've noticed is that people that are, and I don't use this word, the name of the show is Unsung, not Unsung Heroes. The word heroes is overused. It's been watered down and devalued, I think.
I agree with you.
But one of the things about people that, and I'll use the word champion instead of hero. The people who are that thing don't know it. They don't know it. Maybe you just don't know it. Because you knocked over dominoes that started a change that's happening to this day.
But I want to make another point, though. To your point.
Okay.
The real unsung people in Penhurst.
The unsung, yeah.
They were those 2 attendants who took care of 80 babies who were mentally disabled. 80. 80. I had 2 kids. That was a problem. They had 80. They went to work every day and did it. I never blamed the people who worked there. The people who worked there were unsung. They got paid nothing, and they did unbelievable work. And without them, I would have never done the story. They helped me. Every day they helped me.
Well, and that was one of the things that really came across, was that you weren't trying to vilify them.
No, they were not the villains. The villains, the real villain was everybody. It was the state. It was me. It was you.
All of us.
It was, we just didn't know and we didn't care. But now that we knew, we had a responsibility. And that was my whole thing, that no one knew this was going on. But now we know, and now we must change the system. And we did.
And isn't that still the most watched thing that network did?
It was nothing got that kind of response ever at Channel 10. To this day. People went crazy.
And that was the thing that was different back then. We talked about this a little bit, is that you didn't take a side. And you could see in that one that clearly you had a side. There was only one side.
Correct.
There was only one side.
There was only one. You're absolutely right.
Side.
There was only one side. This is so wrong.
There's nobody that's pro putting more kids in.
There was no justification whatsoever.
Right.
And everybody knew it.
And then it just got exploited. I think in some ways it continues to be exploited. The grounds to a degree, and they're working on that. And we've had them on the show because it did. I didn't find out about your documentary until I'd been up there for a while, and it bothered me beforehand. And I thought I had a sense of it and everything. And I talked to some former people that worked there and stuff, and found a bunch of case files. And then I found your documentary. And I was like, oh my God, because you could paint a picture. Because one of the things that you talk about, the TV still hasn't been able to do, thankfully, I guess, is the smell.
That's correct.
And there was a hint of that smell that was there still.
I don't know how those people did it every day. I don't know how they went to work every day and put up with it. And, there was no one on their side. No one. No one was helping them. No one was funding them. It was just do whatever you can do. That's fine.
But have you ever considered the possibility that had Bill Baldini been Captain Baldini, a fighter pilot, that Penhurst might still be open?
I did think of that. And, somebody may have done a story later on somewhere, but the thing that I'm happy about and I'm proud of that we did it when we did it, and it did change. It did make a difference.
Have you had other stories where you've seen the cause and effect like that?
Oh yeah. I used to do this thing called On Your Side, and it was the only type of program like that on the air anywhere where I would literally take a side of someone who's getting screwed by the government or a business. Somebody just couldn't fight City Hall, and I got sued a lot. I did. I got sued left and right. I was in court all the time, and we never lost. Never. And at that time, and I was really proud that was CBS, and CBS took the attitude, we'll go to court for $1. And they made that point, and they did. They backed me to the hilt. I mean, I had great lawyers. It was really wonderful. As long as you were right, you had no problem.
Being right mattered. It doesn't matter as much anymore.
Correct.
Being quick matters more than being right.
Correct. Being right doesn't matter like it used to.
No, it doesn't. And people don't even hear it when you're right.
Let me tell you something about Walter Cronkite that I loved.
Okay.
I loved Walter Cronkite because I thought he was so professional. And I never knew where he stood on a story till he retired. And after he retired, I found out he was a flaming liberal. I started laughing. I said, but I love the guy because he was right down the middle.
Right.
You never knew how he really felt about that story. And that was his job. Here are the facts, and you people decide what you want to think about it. And that's the way I thought it should be. You know, show both sides of the story and say to the viewer. And that's the way the network was. You decide how you feel about it.
Was there ever a story or a topic other than Pennhurst that you felt that you may have let your personal emotion leak out a little?
Yeah, but it had to do with children. Or it was something that was nobody's going to argue with.
Yeah, there's no middle ground.
No, politics, no way. Man, I stood in that middle, and both sides hated me. And I used to take great glee in that when both sides got mad at me, because then I knew I was unbiased.
I have that happen with friends that are conservative and friends that are liberal, that they both accuse me of being the other one, and
then you're right.
That's
then you know you're doing your job.
That's where I love to be.
Yeah,
right there. And it's. I remember stories where people would love to see you coming, and then I remember you were kind of like the beginning of the thing with where they would make the joke about seeing Mike Wallace show up at your office and how you knew you were going to have a bad day. I saw some of that from you.
When I was doing On Your Side, that's exactly the way they felt. That was before 60 Minutes.
It was.
They felt exactly like that. They said, holy smokes, Baldini's here. Uh-oh, we're in trouble. I used to say, not unless you did something wrong.
And you actually, through your domino effect, you indirectly got Geraldo Rivera started. I don't know if you want to take credit for that or not, but
no, that is absolutely correct. After we did Pennhurst, the reaction was so unbelievable that CBS owned 5 stations around the country: Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia. And the bottom line was they sent our series out to each one of them and said, we want you to watch this, and we want you to find one of these places in your area and do a story on it. And that's what happened in New York. Channel 2, some Geraldo Rivera got the story, and he went to a place called Woodside. And naturally, being Geraldo, he took full credit for everything. It was long. It was a year after I did mine.
Did you?
And he did it the exact same way as I did, by the way.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Did you ever see, after Pennhurst, did you ever try and find another story like that? Did you ever wonder if there was another white whale out there? Oh
yeah, well, I remember doing stories about Byberry in Philadelphia. That was the place for the mentally insane,
right,
up in northeast Philadelphia, and it was like the movies.
But that's a little harder sell because there's not children.
That's correct.
The children sell.
That is correct.
Because I remember going into Pennhurst.
But it was still a hellhole. It was better.
Absolutely. But I can understand that a little bit, because they need more money. They need more staffing. They need more. But there needs to be a care place, because now what they do is a lot of people enter the mental health system via the legal system, which is wrong, because they can get victimized in jail, because you can't obey, you can't respond, and they get victimized differently. So there is a need for something like that. But I remember Pennhurst seeing these armored, completely lockable cribs.
Oh, yeah.
And
steel.
Yeah, steel. Yeah. Like a bear cage.
That's correct.
And seeing the thing that touched me the most was a little child